Welcome back to the 411 Podcasting Network. I am your host, Larry Csonka, and this is episode 38 of the 411 on Wrestling podcast. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and of course the 411mania.com website. If you have time, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And as always, we thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. It's greatly appreciated, as we know there are a ton of options to listen to these days. Joining me today is the returning Jeremy Lambert. Jeremy, how are you?
Oh, I'm glad to be back and to watch wrestling, getting caught up on everything after missing a couple of weeks, but glad to be back, buddy.
I am glad to have you back.
Thank you. That sounded, your voice cracked like you were not sincere.
No, that was me trying to get a drink of water into it at the same time.
It was like a question, like you were Ron Burgundy reading off the teleprompter there.
And not good. Classic Dan Patrick show humor there, but yeah, it's no. Very glad to have you back. It was good though. I got to do a couple shows with Steve, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, so he did a good job filling in, and we got to reconnect a little bit. And now you are back.
Bitter Steve Cook.
I know. So, but
he's become a bitter old man lately.
Yeah, well, it happens to all of us. It's understandable at times, but what are you gonna do?
Very fair. Wrestling, depending on what you watch, can be not so good right now. But we're going to talk about some good stuff later on in the podcast because we got the G1.
That's right. We're going to talk a little Raw Reunion. We're going to talk about Seth Rollins trying to be the company man, and lots of G1 stuff to catch up on in audio form, and it should be a good time. But yeah, that is the plan for today. So Jeremy, we'll start off with Raw Reunion, and guess we'll just kind of go through the show here. We started off. John Cena was back.
Love John Cena.
And he kind of joked that he had been gone for a while, and everybody seemed to love him. And it was nice to see John back because he's been gone for a while. And kind of surprised they didn't have any new spiffy merchandise out for him because WWE normally does that like every time he comes back. But so he was all happy to be there. He hyped the show a bit. And the Usos arrived, and they wanted him not to leave. They wanted him to bust some rhymes. He tried to refuse, but they said the fans want the Doctor of Thugonomics and not the guy that left for the movie business. So that led to Cena busting on them for the arrest and mugshot from the one DUI the dude had. And he tried to leave, but Rikishi came out. He refused Cena to leave because he wanted to dance. But the Revival in true asshole heel form interrupted the routine. They were joined by Devon Dudley, and that led to our first match. So what did you think about seeing John Cena in the first segment?
I always love when John Cena returns. I know people, you get sick of him and everything, but every time this guy returns, he makes the show feel special again. And he's like a bona fide Hollywood star now. It's not like he's doing, straight to DVD movies and stuff. Like he's doing big time movies, and so he feels like a big deal when he is there. I'm a sucker for the Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick. I like the rap that him and the Usos did, and I thought this was a good use of somebody like John Cena. You put him in there on the mic with an established tag team like the Usos, and another team was just very good on the mic. Like the Usos promo work might be the best of any tag team in wrestling right now. And it gets everybody over. So I really enjoyed this segment.
Yeah, it was nice to see John back. There was a lot of speculation on if he would actually make the show or not. And it was a nice, not really surprise because it was announced earlier today, but in a way, it was a nice surprise to have him back. And yeah, it was a good way to start it off because you get him out there early because he likely had to go for filming something because I know he pretty much left right afterwards. And so, I mean, yeah, you get him out there, you get a little segment in with him, and yeah, I mean, it was nice to see him back, and it was a fine opening segment.
You're underselling my man John Cena here. The GOAT, the all-time GOAT.
Okay there, Corey Graves, Michael Cole. But, so that led to our opening tag match, which was the Usos versus the Revival in a non-title match. Apparently, Rikishi and Devon were supposed to get physically involved, but there were many legends throughout the day that were not physically cleared to compete, and apparently Rikishi was not healthy enough and physically cleared to do a stink face.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's probably bad, but They had a match a little under 8 minutes. The Usos won. A solid tag match, which will likely lead to a rematch at SummerSlam.
It's fine. These two teams can do better. Wrestling wasn't really the theme. Are we going by the show segment by segment? We're going to take 5 hours to do this show.
No, we'll kind of breeze through it. It won't take long.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to skip a lot of the backstage stuff, but random backstage stuff. Although we did have some hilarity with the 24/7 title. Truth and Carmella were interviewed. Drake's wife distracted Truth. Drake won the title. The Godfather arrived, and the best part was he got Charlie to dance.
You can't say ho, though.
Yeah, he couldn't say ho train. He just had to do the everybody aboard and let the crowd say it. But at least the crowd said it with him. So that was good. Drew McIntyre beat the shit out of Cedric Alexander for beating him last week.
That's fine. Drew, they're never going to pull the trigger on this guy. I've abandoned all hope.
Yep. Drake Maverick ran into the Boogeyman, which led to Pat Patterson winning the 24/7 title. Christian joined commentary. I'm still upset he never got a proper send-off.
Yeah, Christian, get this man in the Hall of Fame or something. There's always a big Christian mark, and they didn't give him that big send-off. This guy should be a bigger legend than they treat him, and God knows they need like stars who actually feel like stars nowadays.
Well, the worst part is technically his send-off was that segment with Edge and Seth Rollins and them when Seth Rollins threatened to like break Edge's neck with a chair, and he's like, "You two guys are retired." And that was like the first time on screen it was mentioned that Christian was retired, and that was like forever ago. But like, yeah, he never got a proper send-off, which sucks. But he joined commentary. The Viking Raiders killed Ryder and Hawkins in under 3 minutes. Good squash for them. They're just, hopefully they eventually do something with them because they're awesome.
Yeah, I'm fine with these squash matches. They just beat the former tag team champions. Weren't Hawkins and Ryder the last team to hold the titles before the revival?
Yeah.
This should lead to something for the Viking Raiders. It probably won't. It should.
Should lead to something. Backstage, Maria Kanellis buried Mike Kanellis as usual while Eric Bischoff tried to recruit him to SmackDown. Good work already, Eric. Nice job, buddy. Ron Simmons appeared, gave him a damn into Jimmy Hart's megaphone. Briscoe did a phantom title change, beating Pat Patterson for the 24/7 championship because Pat couldn't take a bump. And Kelly appeared, low-blowed Briscoe, and won the title.
God bless Kelly.
Yep, she was looking good.
She was looking good.
So Samoa Joe came out, cut a really good promo as usual, which led to a confrontation with Roman Reigns. They brawled, and then it set up a match. And Roman Reigns beat him in under 6 minutes. The match was fine.
My God.
What sucked is like this whole promo and stuff, this should have felt like it led to like a couple weeks angle and maybe a SummerSlam match, but they just did it here on Raw with no build, and Joe lost again.
Like they've done Joe and Roman before, and it was good, and it was a similar theme of, who's a real Samoan and your family and stuff. I love Samoa Joe. This guy might be the best promo in the company, and all he does is lose. He truly feels like Babyface Miz, where Babyface Miz cuts a really good, passionate promo, and then he fucking loses to Shane McMahon. I don't understand why this guy loses so much. And he's not, like, you can heat Joe up and make him seem credible, but no one buys him in these big matches. Like, you've got to give this guy some halfway meaningful victories.
Yeah, it'd be really nice, but don't seem like that's what they're doing with him. So,
it's a shame.
Yeah. Miz TV with Seth Rollins was next. Seth Rollins did a really bad Paul Heyman impersonation.
Oof.
Talked about beating Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Heyman came out. Seth threatened him. Paul ran away. And Seth said, "I'm not taking nights off," and that he's going to beat AJ Styles.
This promo from Seth was not good.
It was fine to hype Rollins and Lesnar, but yeah, it was like, it was there. So Sammy interrupted Charlie trying to interview legends and mock the whole reunion thing. Joe did that earlier too, which made them baby faces in my eyes. Rey Mysterio defended the legends, and then they set up a match for later. Kelly lost the Divas title to Candice Michelle because Melina had secretly trained to become a referee. And then Medusa attacked and sort of choked her out standing up and won the title. And then she rambled a bunch about stuff, and nobody knew what the hell she was saying. She was drunk.
Yeah, you can't invite Medusa to these parties because we saw it at NWA and then we saw it again here. There's clearly no limit, and Medusa will take advantage of Vince's tab here.
Obviously. So Rey Mysterio then beat Sami Zayn in 5 minutes. They were having an okay match, and then Sami Zayn tried to bail, which led to Rob Van Dam, Sergeant Slaughter, Hurricane, and Kurt Angle coming out. Chased him back to the ring. Ray hit a Ronda 619 and a frog splash and beat him. It was okay.
Impact superstar Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, who's apparently not under a contract, I guess.
He looked high out of his mind as well, and good on him.
So, hey, if he got a payday, I guess good for him. It was more about trotting out some more guys to get screen time. Ric Flair arrived in a limo. It looked like he had bladed himself for his appearance, so he was going old school. Street Profits bantered backstage. Dawkins made Ford jealous because he was hanging out with all the legends, and poor Montez Ford looks sad, but he goes home.
He was getting high with Rob Van Dam.
Yeah. But, Montez Ford goes home to Bianca Belair, so I think he's okay.
Yeah, I'm not feeling bad for that guy.
That's right. Medusa arrived, and they teased reliving the whole throwing the championship in the trash can thing, which led to the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase making a cameo, offered to buy the championship, and successfully did so he's the new 24/7 champion.
I like how you can just buy the title.
If Jack Tunney was alive, this shit wouldn't fly.
I actually like this segment. Like, we knew it was coming with the whole trash can thing, but I like the DiBiase coming out and just deciding to buy it. Yeah,
that was funny. So, U.S. champion AJ Styles battled Seth Rollins. Seth ended up winning by DQ. They were having a match. The OC, now they're being called, got involved, which led to Seth's angry uncle, Shawn Michaels, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley arriving to even the odds. They finished the match. It was a DQ. DX and the OC hit the ring. They teased Too Sweeting each other because AJ said, "We're the same, brother," and they were like, "Nope," and gave him crotch chops, which led to a short brawl, and then Road Dogg, X-Pac, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash, who did not get NWO music and are just apparently DX flunkies, now arrived. Road Dogg said that they're the OGs. The Click tells him to get to stepping, and the OC left. And then Seth got to do the big, "If you're not down with that, suck it" line. And according to Dave Meltzer, this was supposed to be for Ricochet, but he has an infected elbow and was not cleared to be on the show to do anything.
Yeah, that sucks because Ricochet could have, I guess, used this. I don't know what this actually does. If Ricochet was involved, what would it actually do for him? Remember when the club embraced at Raw 25 and what did that actually do for those guys? Like, it didn't do anything. Getting this kind of rub isn't an actual rub because it's Triple H. So no one cares about this dude. I guess it's better that the OC didn't eat the finisher buffet. They just kind of walked away. Like, they looked like geeks for it, but eating the finisher buffet wouldn't have done them any favors either. It would have just been cool if they just took out all these old fuckers and, actually got some guys over. But that's too much to ask.
Yeah, that's not the goal of the show, man. I'm not allowed to get the current roster over. So, Drake Maverick beat Ted DiBiase up inside his limo to win back the 24/7 championship. The Geeks chased him away, which led into the Mick Foley segment. He did this cheap pop. Drake and the Geeks ran through. Foley vowed to win the title later that night, but that did not happen because Bray Wyatt arrived and choked him out with the mandible claw. The only new guy to really get over on this show over anybody of note.
Yeah, this is what this show should be used for if you're going to bring back these legends. And Bray looked like the biggest star as far as the current roster goes on the night because he actually took out a legend. And I'm sure this was like a Foley idea, just being willing to put someone over. And I wish more of the legends like had this mindset or were asked to do this because it'd be very useful if, again, like the OC just like, why the fuck can't they beat up Road Dogg and Waltman? Waltman will bump for people still. Hall and Nash can fall over maybe. like, why can't you put some of these guys out like that? This was good stuff. I love this segment.
Yeah, definitely. I wish it could happen a little more. Like, I'm not saying you need to sacrifice every fucking legend, but I think what the point we're trying to make is just the fact that there's a reason when these people come back that everybody goes, well, none of the current stars are as good as these guys, and that's because they're never allowed to, and they're not allowed to look on their level or really get over on them. And the Bray Wyatt thing was like an aberration. It like never really happens that much. So the fact that it happened was at least good for him. So I was happy about that.
At least on this show, no legends really completely destroyed all the young guys. I guess Ray and Sammy would be the only real example, and even Ray is a current active person, so it's not even a great example. Because usually, they do eat that finisher buffet, and no one looks good off of that, or like The Rock comes back and just buries everyone, and Rusev never gets his heat back or anything. So at least we didn't get that. But yeah, it'd be nice if just the current guys got to take out these legends a little bit. You don't even have to sacrifice like the top legends. Like, you had so many people there, and you couldn't just like do something to somebody. I guess a lot of them couldn't take a bump, but like, couldn't Drew McIntyre lay out the boogeyman or something? Like, who's that hurting?
Yeah, really. By the way, speaking of, and I use air quotes here, legends, it was really weird seeing Alicia Fox just randomly backstage grouped in with all the legends and stuff. It was like, I guess it's better that she's not wrestling, but just really weird.
Yeah, I mean, Alicia Fox is a legend in her own mind and in the minds of some, so it works.
So next up was a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss bringing out Becky Lynch. They talked about facing Natalya at SummerSlam, and of course Natalya arrived right away. They argued, showed footage of last week's promo. Becky said Natalya tried to undercut her by training Ronda Rousey to beat her, but Becky said she took Ronda's scalp at Mania. Referees separated them. They brawled. I thought it was like an okay angle to build to the match. I'm not really excited about a Natalya pay-per-view match, but my big point was, do you guys remember when Asuka beat Becky Lynch at the Rumble, and people said it's because they wanted to have Becky set up with viable challengers when she was champion, and then they just had Charlotte beat Asuka, and then they did nothing with Asuka, and then Becky feuded with Lacey Evans and now Natalya.
I didn't watch last week because of everything going on.
Oh, so you missed the 25-minute horrible four-way women's match.
I missed it, and I had no desire to rewatch it. I saw Natalya won and was going to be challenging Becky at SummerSlam, and I legitimately thought it was a joke. I was like, there's no way they're actually doing this match. Like, they cannot do this match. And then I forgot it was in Toronto, and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, she's getting this match literally because this show is in Toronto. Like, if this show is in Los Angeles, you're not putting Natalya in this spot. And it's funny because Becky or Charlotte is going to get the Trish Stratus match, it looks like. And it's like, you couldn't give Becky that match. You give her Natalya. I feel so bad for Becky. She was the hottest act in the company, male or female, through the last half of last year and the first part of this year. She main events WrestleMania. She beats Ronda Rousey, and they put her in fucking feuds with Lacey Evans, Baron Corbin, and Natalya, and stick her with Seth Rollins, who has no on-screen chemistry with, despite them dating in real life. This poor woman, she is just falling off a cliff with the shit they've given her.
But apparently, if you listen to the naysayers, it's all Becky's fault because she's not that good anyway and wasn't really over.
Yeah, imagine getting good matches out of Lacey Evans, who had worked like 5 matches on the main roster before all of this. Like, no, Becky is great. Like, she got herself over. She could work. Like, go back and watch the Charlotte and the Asuka matches. Like, she's really good. No one's getting over facing Lacey Evans. Like, that Charlotte Lacey Evans match on SmackDown or Raw, whenever it was, like, that match sucked. You're going to tell me Charlotte's not good because she had a terrible match with Lacey Evans as well?
Well, apparently that's the case, Jeremy.
I don't get it. People are stupid.
Yeah. So Drake Maverick was trying to escape with his wife in a limo, but R-Truth pinned him to win back the championship, and then he hopped into limo and peeled away with Drake's wife, and poor Drake was left there thought he was talking to his wife and said, "It's going to be okay, honey," and then realized he was talking to Carmella, and that poor bastard.
Carmella is like the best friend in the world, because I saw people say like, oh, well, Kelly won the 24/7 title. Women can win the title. What's Carmella waiting for? Maybe she's just a really good friend, people. And she proved it here, because Drake was holding on to his wife and Carmella kicked his hands. And then as the limo sped off, Carmella's just left standing there. If this all leads to Carmella finally getting sick of it and winning the title, it's the best storyline WWE has done in years. And that's including the Kofi storyline.
Yeah, I love the Carmella Truth pairing. They're just fun. So, and they're over.
Friendships in wrestling.
Yeah, who the fuck knew friendships can work in wrestling? Yeah. So, Braun Strowman then killed a young man in 45 seconds. It was glorious.
Darby Rhodes.
Actually, in my recap, his name is Jeremy Boots and Tights.
Oh, so it's my brother.
Yeah.
Okay. He looked like Darby Allin, and I guess his last name was Rowe, and Corey Graves said Rhodes, and they all had a great laugh over this, and Michael Cole just could not contain himself. And I don't know if it was an accident or not, but yeah.
Good shit, pal. So, but it was a great little squash. I mean, just Braun hit all his shit. He tackled him, threw him across the ring a few times, hit a big boot, gigantic choke slam, and yes, this young man died. So, good stuff. And then we closed out with the big toast of Monday Night Raw. Ric Flair came out. They did not give him a live mic, which was probably for the best.
Unfortunately.
And then a bunch of the legends arrived on the stage. Hulk Hogan came out. Let me tell you something, brother. Great to be back here. Jack, Hulkamaniacs. Tampa's awesome. Thanks to fans. Steve Austin arrives. Gets like the biggest pop of the night. See Steve Austin. Heads to the ring and poses, busts out his coolers, it's beer time, plays to the crowd. Yeah, everybody loves Steve Austin, I'm no different, but I mean, he gave a nice little speech about everybody being his family, and the road and ring crew included, and the fans, and he hung out with Hulk Hogan and recorded a podcast, drank beer and ate sushi, listened to Ric Flair stories, he drank all the beer in the bar, then he went and ordered a bunch of room service, met with Ron Simmons, and then a bunch of other dudes, and he had a good time because he didn't want the night to end. And then they were closing the show out, and then Steve Austin randomly decides he has a story to tell about Gerald Briscoe with like under a minute left. They were talking about being in South Africa, and then he realized time was running out, so they all drank, and the show ended with a big final cheers, and everybody looked like they were having a good time.
I like how Austin, he's like, I got a minute left. Let me go into this story about Gerald Briscoe. That's not going to have a conclusion. This man did not care. And I mean, why should he? He's Steve Austin. I was waiting for like Undisputed Era to attack. Foolishly, I didn't actually think it would happen, but I was like, oh man, this is the time to shoot this angle. And, you know, nothing happened. They sent everyone home happy. Like, fine. I don't like this self-indulgent nonsense. Like, Austin gets away with it because he's Steve Austin, and yeah, we're all Steve Austin marks. If Roman Reigns comes out there and cuts this exact promo, like, isn't he buried for just being like a WWE kiss ass and you know, just putting everybody over and using a bunch of buzzwords? Like, if anybody on the current roster cuts this promo, even if John Cena cuts it, like, they're just looked at in a different way. But Austin cuts it and people are like, it's Steve Austin, who gives a shit? It was whatever. I don't like the self-indulgent stuff though. I wasn't around for the Fight for the Fallen review, but that final segment with the Elite donating the check and stuff, like, I didn't care for that segment. And I get it, you have to do it, but I don't want to see it. Like, tell me how great you are by putting on an actual product that I like and enjoy, not by saying how great you are and, you know, throwing a bunch of charity money and stories and buzzwords at me.
Yeah, that would have been nice. So, overall, Jeremy, what did you think of the show?
it was like every other kind of reunion show where they bring these people back and they don't actually like set up anything for the future. Like that was my biggest takeaway. And they popped a rating, which they should have popped the rating. But if you were a fan who hasn't watched in a while and you watched last night, like what did you see that made you say, "Oh, I got to tune in next week to see this"? Like Bray Wyatt is the only thing that I can think of where I'm like, yeah, I gotta tune in next week to see this guy. Dustin James actually texted me, and Dustin hasn't watched wrestling in forever, and he's like, I don't watch anymore, but I saw this Bray Wyatt thing, and this looks awesome. And that's really the only thing I can point to where you're like, yeah, this is something I'm tuning in to see next week. Everybody else just, all right, it's stuff happening, but nothing that's holding your attention or engaging with you.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the show. Like I wrote in my review, WWE is basically burning through all of its panic moves before they even get to Fox. Last December, they admitted that they had issues, specifically with the live events. They promised to change and fix them, and they haven't. Houses are down. The ratings have been stagnant. So they brought in Heyman and Bischoff. They sort of ended the brand split with the wild card rule. They broke the emergency glass and brought the Undertaker back, and they put the title back on Brock. And then last night was we got to bring every star back for one night show to pop a rating. And they did get the rating up. And I'm sure, well, listen, here's the other thing too. Is like, I'm sure that there are a lot of people that really like the show. And that's great if you really like the stuff. And some of the nostalgia stuff was fun. But it totally came at the wrong time, in my opinion, because you're 3 weeks out of SummerSlam. And I'm sorry, it's still a big pay-per-view. I think your program should be focused on building to that show. And so you had the potential for the bigger audience, and you got it here. And I think you wasted it because you didn't shoot any kind of major angle to make the most out of it. To put over a current star, to make people tune in for next week. I mean, what is it going to mean next week? I mean, who got over? Who really got elevated? Who came out looking better than they went in? I guess the best argument is Bray Wyatt, but other than that, it's just nobody. It was just the same nostalgia fest they always put on, and for me, it's become diminishing returns. I lived through the era. I about died when Sami Zayn said watching this show was like watching the Attitude Era through the Face app.
Best line of the night.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe the show just isn't for me, and that's fine. I can appreciate if people enjoyed this show and they had a good time watching it. And they thought it was harmless nostalgia. But to me, it's part of a bigger problem for the company because there's still a lack of building stars. You don't really have a big group of stars. You have Brock, who they think is a giant star, and Brock helped them get the $1 billion TV deals. You had Ronda Rousey, who was the same thing, helped them get the $1 billion TV deals, but she's gone. Seth Rollins looked like the kid left out of the dodgeball game when the big click was doing the big hug spot before they brought him in for the ending thing. And it's just like everybody else just looked like dudes. And I think the best thing I saw on Twitter was this show did an excellent job of making me remember how much fun wrestling used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it did that. I guess so, but it didn't make me remember anything. I guess unless you're just talking about like it's bad now, and so I remember how great it used to be with these guys. I don't think like any segment really made me remember like, oh yeah, this was really fun. Yeah, I don't know. Like this is what they always do with these reunion shows. They're designed to pop a rating. They do that, and I think they actually do more harm than good because people see like, hey, these new guys kind of suck compared to all these old guys. So we're definitely like, even the fans who tune in every week, where they're just like, oh yeah, like this show kind of sucks now. Why am I wasting 3 hours of my life watching it every week?
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like I said, I guess the show just isn't for me. I wasn't never expecting like a wrestling heavy show or anything, but I think that the show really came at the wrong time when you should be building to SummerSlam. And that's, my opinion. And again, I think it's perfectly fine if people really enjoyed the show and you had a good time watching. But it's just, it was still a long 3 hours. And, I mean, there was a little bit of fun, but it wasn't like when that show was over, I was like, God damn, that was a great show or anything. So, but we'll stick with WWE before we hit the New Japan, Jeremy. Seth Rollins is he's trying his best to be the company man. And he's talked a lot lately. He had his little feud with Will Ospreay on Twitter. Talked about how WWE is the best wrestling in the world. And then he was talking to Will Ospreay about look at my bank account, which is just like, that's how you know you're triggered and have to dig deep. And when you go for that morsel, it's like, okay, just that's like the desperate thing there, man. Come on. And he's kind of continued that. He's doubled down on they're the best company. And no, listen, nobody's going to argue that WWE is the biggest company in the world, the most profitable company in the world with those TV deals coming up. But you're going to sit here and try to say that you have the best wrestling in the world, and that's just not the case, especially with the G1 happening right now. And then he sits there and he's trying to talk down to guys like Ospreay, and he's like, I've been where you are, and you've never been where I've been, so you don't know what it's like. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm rather positive Seth Rollins never worked in New Japan. Now, I think when he's saying that, he's just talking down to indie guys. But he never worked New Japan, so don't sit there and... Dude, Seth isn't even like a top 10 guy or 15 guy in New Japan. No offense.
I mean, if we're counting NXT, I'm not sure Seth is a top 10 guy in WWE.
Dude, there was an argument a couple weeks ago that he's not even like top 5 on 205 Live.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean... Yeah, but I mean, what do you think about Seth Rollins? Company man, or is he a triggered company man?
I don't have a big issue with this compared to everyone else. I've seen a lot of people just trying to dunk on Seth Rollins, and like what do you want him to say in these interviews? Like, he's not going to say, oh yeah, like, we're a really good wrestling product, but if you want something better, go watch New Japan. Like, that's he's not going to say that shit. Does he take it a little too serious or get triggered? Yeah, probably a little bit. Like, the whole Ospreay argument was dumb. At least he realized that was dumb and apologized for it. Like, Seth is clearly emotional and passionate about what he does and the product that WWE puts on, and he's the face of the company, so he's got to defend it. So I don't hold that against him. Like, who hasn't tweeted emotionally when you're passionate about something? Like, we've all been there. So I don't hold any of that against him. People want to compare him to Roman would never say this, or John Cena would never say this. Like, it's a different era, especially compared to John Cena. Like, John Cena didn't have to deal with any competition when he was on top. Like, who was the closest? Maybe TNA for a bit. Like, New Japan was not nearly as hot as they are now. AEW didn't exist. There was really no competition. So Cena wasn't fielding questions about, hey, how, what do you think of this wrestler in this company and all this stuff. Even Roman wasn't fielding those questions too much. And Roman definitely gave more diplomatic answers, and Roman knew how to stay off of social media during a lot of this stuff, so he wasn't tweeting emotionally. Seth is just a different guy. I really don't have an issue with what he's been saying. It's made for good content, and hey, that's fine by me. I do think some people are actually it's wrestling. There's a chance he's actually working a little bit at this point. He's like, oh, they want headlines? I'm going to give them headlines. I'm going to keep WWE's name out there and stuff. Like, all right, people are going to criticize them, especially reporters and stuff, but we're still watching the product. And it might hurt. Other fans might see it. It might turn off the product. Those fans probably aren't watching it all that much anyway nowadays. And even if Rollins gave a politically correct answer, he's not going to bring them back. Like, the actual product being better is how you get more people to tune in. Like, Seth Rollins isn't alienating fans by saying any of this stuff.
Yeah, and I largely agree with what you're saying. It's the thing is like you said, he is a company man. He's one of the top guys. You can't expect him to go, you know what, we are okay, man, but goddamn, I watched the New Japan show the other night, and those fuckers were awesome. I mean, he's not going to say anything like that, even if he might think that. He's not going to say he watched something else that was better than his product. He's going to defend his company. He's going to defend his position, and I'm largely fine with that. It's just the way he says some things just comes off really bad. Like, I died at the whole talking about Moxley, and now he's trying to take food off my table. Now, let me correct Seth Rollins on this one. The fact that AEW is around and has a major TV deal, and the fact that New Japan has become an important product and is hot, has drastically changed the wrestling pay scale. If you don't have AEW coming into what they have and New Japan heating up, the Kanellises aren't making $500,000 a year each. You know, they're not throwing money at people like that to keep them. Jinder Mahal and fucking Mojo Rawley aren't getting re-signed for 5 years. The reason that your friends in your company are making more money is because of these other companies and because Vince doesn't want to lose. And I'm not saying he's going to lose, but my thing is that when Vince gets focused on something and it's a war situation, he unloads all the artillery. And they have the money to do stuff.
Yeah, I get what Rollins was saying there. You know, it's a competition. Like AEW, they are in a way taking food off of Seth Rollins' table. Like they're gonna steal fans, and they've got this TV deal. Like they're coming for that spot. And if they do, like WWE is not in danger of losing money or going out of business or anything. But if you look at it in terms of a war, like this is what's happening. Like, all right, sure, Mojo Rawley is getting more money and Jinder Mahal's getting more money. Like Rollins is probably getting a bigger downside whenever his contract is up. What's he making off of pay-per-view and the network right now? What's he making off of, you know, television? What's he making off of live events that are doing like 500 fans? Like that's not a AEW issue. Like they were losing these fans before AEW became a thing. But AEW is not going to help them with their fan base. It needs to be just a better product. I really, Vince is taking food off of his table because the product isn't good right now, and that's hurting business overall. Again, I don't have an issue with these comments by Rollins. He doesn't say things in the most thought out way, and I think that kind of makes him more human in my eyes. But he says things. He's always been kind of a dick. Like, just go back and watch his promos. This guy just like kind of acts like a dick all the time. So I'm not surprised that he's making these kind of dickish comments as well. I don't know. I like Seth Rollins. I think he's been far more entertaining with these headlines than he is on screen right now. I love this gimmick on screen, honestly. Like, make him this like dickish heel. He sucks as a babyface.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like, I get why he's doing it. I get why he's defending the company, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm sure he's very happy because he wanted to be in WWE. I'm sure he's making great money. But I also sit there, and when I listen to some of these comments, I almost wonder, like, is he a little jealous of Jon Moxley?
It's possible.
Because, I mean, yeah, Moxley left on his own accord, and I know some people don't like to hear this, but he became the hottest thing in wrestling. And he's had great matches, and he seems completely happy and reinvigorated. And I mean, Seth Rollins is stuck there working with Baron Corbin and bad on-screen angles with Becky Lynch, and he's feuding with Brock again. And I don't know. Again, he may be perfectly happy, and that's fantastic. But I mean, I don't know, every once in a while I kind of read the comments or listen to the tone of his voice in the interview, and it's like, I wonder if maybe deep down, maybe he is a little jealous. And I mean, that's normal, I think, of just being human and everything, but it's I think it's an interesting theory, you know?
It's possible that he's jealous. I think Seth Rollins almost looks at this as like a new challenge because fans are going towards AEW and boosting them and boosting New Japan. And like, I don't think Rollins is a dumb guy. He probably notices that, yeah, maybe this isn't the best pro wrestling on the planet, but I have to say this regardless, because what else am I going to say? And he like takes it as a challenge of, I'm the face of this company. I need to step up and do something. Like, we don't know what's going on with Seth Rollins behind the scenes, how often he's going to events and trying to pitch different stuff and whatnot. So he's just trying to go out there and be company guy. And like, this was his dream to get to WWE, main event WrestleMania, all of that stuff. They've turned him into a huge star. Like, Tyler Black was fine on the independent scene. Like, he was ROH champion and whatnot. You never really heard of Tyler Black like lighting the business on fire on the independent scene, or doing these, it's set to be like this next big star. Like, at least I didn't. Like, I thought Tyler Black was just fine, but I never thought of him as like, yeah, this guy is about to be a main event player in WWE for years to come. And like, they boosted him to that position, and he's probably grateful for that, and probably feels like he owes Vince and WWE a lot for that. So it's tough to get into the mind of Seth Rollins based on media comments that may or may not be like scripted out for him.
Yeah, and honestly, like, to me, it's like, it makes for great headlines, which is good for business and all, but I kind of wish that everybody would just shut the fuck up about the other companies and just make your own goddamn product really good.
Yeah, I completely agree. This was another thing that I didn't like at Fight for the Fallen, is Cody's out here like, you can't counter program this and all this stuff. Like, all right, cool, just put on a good product. And that was your worst show of the three as well. And I mean, not to like make it all about money, but you donated $150,000, and like, that's a big contribution. But when WWE donates shit, like, they're giving like millions and stuff, and you're backed by a billionaire. Like, you can't give more for this giant check. Like, don't tell me like you can't counter program this, and then WWE can easily counter program your charity efforts.
Yeah, I just want everybody to focus on their own damn shit and fix your own problems, and because that's the thing. I mean, I think when people focus on their own stuff and try to make it better, it's just better overall. And people are like, "Whoa, don't you remember the Attitude Era?" And like, ECW took cheap shots all the time and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, and it became annoying after a while, to be honest. Especially when it just became like everybody doing it. Like, oh my god. The worst thing about WCW during that whole time was every motherfucker that came in had to give the "back when I was in New York" speech. And it's
why do you think WWE actually kind of won the war? It's because outside of Waltman, like, who really took shots at Bischoff that jumped ship? Like, they just came in and they were WWE guys. And meanwhile, if you jump to WCW, you had to cut the promo. You whatever you did in WWE like had to be mentioned. Obviously, Bischoff was giving out results, and like always, like, Bischoff went on television and challenged Vince McMahon to a fight. I guess DX did the invasion, but that was actually really smartly done, and not just, hey, let's take a cheap shot. That was, hey, let's put on like this show long skit where, if WCW was smart, like they would have actually let them in. But like, it wasn't like just some random cheap shot and, hey, let's do a shoot promo because we were unhappy in this promotion. It was, let's make this part of our television and show everyone that these guys are kind of pussies. Like, just focus on your own shit. Like, you don't need to mention the competition. That's what got TNA in trouble. They fucking had to mention WWE every single week, and it's like, all right, knock it off. Like, don't do that stuff. And WWE is treading dangerously with, I guess they're not outright mentioning AEW, at least not on screen, outside of Sami Zayn's weird little comment. But talking about it so much in the media, and I get you're going to have to be asked questions about this stuff, and you got to come up with some answer. Like, there's a difference between the Triple H answer, where it's very stock, and the Seth Rollins answer, where he goes very in depth and tries to like bury the other promotions.
Yeah, and my thing is, it's like, WWE, when you look at the roster of talent they have overall, they have way too many talented people for this company not to be better. Behind the scenes, in front of the scene, everything. This company should be so much better. And that's what I would like them to focus on. Just focus on being a great company. I think AEW has a ton of great talent. I want them to focus on that and putting on a good alternative. I don't give a shit about Cody bashing thrones and talking about counter programming and all that bullshit. Just put on a good product. If you put on a good product, people will find you. You have a good television deal. It's not like you're stuck in Impact's position where you're on Pursuit and Twitch.
They're expanding their coverage on Twitch.
Well, yippee. Good for them. I mean, I feel bad for them, honestly, but I mean, yeah, it's just focus on your own shit. Make your own stuff good. Speaking of good stuff, Jeremy, we're going to move on to that right now. We're going to talk about the G1 Climax Tournament, which is ongoing. And it has been really, really fucking great so far. And we're going to kick off with coverage of Night 2, because we've already covered Night 1. That was the Dallas show in the U.S. Night 2 kicked off with Juice Robinson defeating Shingo in almost 15 minutes. Your thoughts?
I've binge watched all these matches in the last 2 days. So as I was telling you off the air, my takes are piping hot because I've put them in the microwave, but they're maybe not so fresh. But at least everything is fresh in my mind. I love this match. I thought Juice was great. Shingo, proved he can step up and compete with the heavyweights. Not that was really in anyone's doubt. A little surprised that Shingo lost, because I thought they would want to establish him early on to show that he can beat these heavyweights. And Juice he's going to be around the mid area in his block. But they wanted to get Juice off to a hot start, because he's been not so hot in the G1. So I get that there. But overall, like a great match. And I think, all right, maybe I question Shingo losing a little bit, but not like anything to where I'm like, this is an outrage.
Yeah, I thought it was a little odd. I thought Juice would lose here, but because he kind of notoriously gets off to a slow start. But yeah, I thought it was great. Like you said, Shingo stepped up. He shows he can go with the heavyweights. Juice was, really great here as well. Just everything clicked. And for the opening of the B block, I thought it got them off to a great hot start. And yeah, nice to see Juice pick up the win, and he's looking fired up in this tournament so far.
Yeah, Juice. He needs a good G1 run, and Shingo's gonna be fun.
Exactly. Next up was Jon Moxley defeating Tai Chi. Tai Chi was a dick as usual and attacked him before the bell. They did a lot of brawling and stuff, and Tai Chi eventually got put through a table. Moxley pinned him. Good match. I like the Moxley matches so far, because it's in a way it's like the Yano matches, in a way that he's bringing something that nobody else is bringing to the G1, and it breaks things up and makes him a little different. And he just, again, he feels fresh and re-energized, so he's off to a good start.
Yeah, Tai Chi sucks. Moxley, I thought this match was fine. I wasn't expecting it to be anything special, because it featured Tai Chi, and Moxley has bigger things to do than trying to kill himself against Tai Chi, even though he still tried to do it in this match as well.
Yeah, so fun stuff. Toru Yano defeated Tetsuya Naito in just under 4 minutes in the first really big upset of the tournament. You had all of your Yano shenanigans, including pulling the shirt over his head and stuff, and low blow and cradle. Yano off to a big start over Naito.
Love this match. My favorite match of the tournament. Obviously pretty surprising that Yano would win, but Yano should win this whole thing, because why not? I love Yano G1 matches. I don't care if they're kind of all the same and they're campy and whatnot. Yano is so great, and I don't know. I love Yano, and yeah, Naito losing, pretty surprising.
Yeah, and I get why a lot of people don't like the Yano matches. Like, from a match quality standpoint, they're
stupid. That's why.
Well, yeah, from a match quality standpoint, 'cause I think everybody's just expecting you get all these really good to great matches throughout the G1. And from a match quality standpoint, the matches aren't really good. But, again, they're a needed diversion and break. They're a night off for certain guys. And, again, a variety is the spice of life. and the crowd loves it. So, I mean, whenever the crowd starts hating it, then you can kind of reevaluate it. But I think for now it's fine. And it's just, it adds something different. It's fun.
Yano's the best.
So next up, Big Tom Ishii defeated the adorable Hawaiian Buddha Jeff Cobb. Just over 18 minutes. I thought this was excellent stuff. Big lads beating the shit out of big lads, and just pretty much everything I wanted from this match, with Big Tom pulling out the first big win for himself.
Love this match. Never really a question that this match would be bad or anything like that, because Ishii's awesome and Jeff Cobb is awesome. Just a great match, and Ishii is putting in a strong tournament, as we'll talk about a little bit later.
Exactly. And the main event of night 2 was Hiroki Goto defeating Jay White, just over 21 minutes, finally getting Jay White, revenge on Jay White for White just being a total asshole to him for a long time. And it's a trend that will play out here as Chaos starts getting some revenge on Jay White for his turn last year. Thought the match was very good, and it was nice to see Goto win. He's in great shape, and nice to see some comeuppance on Jay White.
Yeah, I thought the match was good, not quite great. I have a hard time with Goto, and this was a story that made sense. And as you said, we will talk about Jay White his kind of arc so far in the G1, which has been really well booked. Goto, I have a tough time getting into, and it's because he's failed so often, and it's because like he should seem like kind of a star in this tournament, but he's almost just like a forgotten guy, because like you got Kenta, you got Moxley, you got Ospreay. Like these are like the new guys in the tournament who you're really excited for. Even like a guy like Jeff Cobb. You obviously got your big stars like Ibushi, Naito, Okada, and Tanahashi. And even a guy like Shingo is also a new guy that you're excited for. And then even a guy like Ishii, you're like, oh yeah, like this guy, he fucking rules. Like last year's G1 was awesome. And Goto's never bad in the G1, but it's like this guy's just kind of, he's there. And so I have a tough time getting into his matches because of that. But this match was good, and Goto winning was not surprising once you kind of saw how things played out with Jay White.
Yeah, and it made sense. And like you said, we'll talk about the story later on. So we will move on to night 3 here, which was back to A block action. And we started off with Lance Archer defeating Bad Luck Fale in just over 10 minutes. A surprisingly good match, because Lance Archer has been really good in this tournament so far. Actually pulled something watchable out of Fale, which I greatly appreciated.
Archer's been strong in this tournament. We'll talk about him a little bit later on with the Tanahashi match, but yeah, he pulled off a solid match with Fale, and that's not always easy to do. So I'm impressed with Lance Archer, and I said it after this match. I tweeted it out, like, Archer is the guy who should be getting a decent push out of this, and by that I mean put the US title on him. Like, I don't know how much they can kill off Moxley, but if Archer not necessarily squashes Moxley, but just looks like a complete beast against him, like, imagine what that does for his career in New Japan moving forward.
Yeah, I wrote, I think in my last review, that this is the dude that they need to make the new monster and fucking keep Fale in tag matches.
Yeah,
because
I'm fine with that.
Lance has been so good here. Dude's like 42. He had back surgery a couple years ago, but he, like, kind of like talking about Moxley, he looks so re-energized right now, and he's just delivering flat out. No complaints from me at all with him. So it's great to see. I like seeing guys like that get a big rebound.
Yeah, he's been great this tournament.
So next up, Will Ospreay defeated Sonata, hair over 17 minutes. Your thoughts?
Good. I mean, Will Ospreay fucking rules, so not a surprise there. Sonata, we'll talk about his tournament a little bit more moving forward. Like, he's not winning, but he's putting on really, really great matches, and he's kind of I don't know if he's putting it together in the ring because he's always had this ability, but he's really turned it up a notch in this tournament. I still wish they would just do a little bit more with him as far as a singles run, because he's kind of run dry with the tag team. I mean, the whole New Japan tag team division's run dry. But like, I see Sonata as a guy who can hold the Intercontinental title very respectably, and like, they don't seem to see him that way. And I hope this G1 run, which has been really good so far as in-ring match quality and even like getting over, like the guy's getting over as well. He's getting really good responses. So I hope this does a lot for Sonata. Yeah, I mean, it's Ospreay and Sonata. Like, it's going to be great, and it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. Just some incredible athletic stuff between these guys. And just everything seemed to click for me. And like I said, Sonata, he's delivering. And I would like to see them do more with him as well. But, yeah, especially because the tag scene is just so dead there and means nothing. It would be great to see him do something else. So, yeah, an IC title run would be really cool. Just whatever, man. As long as it gets them in the mix of something different, a chance to keep delivering. Next up, Okada defeated Zack Sabre Jr. just over 12 minutes. I thought this match was great. I also thought it was refreshing to have Okada in the middle of a card and kind of work a shorter match and a slightly different style match. He's obviously, Okada's great. Zack Sabre Jr. is fucking great. They work really well together, and this delivered for me.
The match did not count as Taka was not there.
Fair enough. I miss Hype Man Taka.
I always love Zack Sabre Jr. He's one of my favorite wrestlers to watch because he's just so smooth. Okada is great. Like, he's never going to have a bad match against a guy like Zack Sabre Jr. Oh yeah, this all worked. And I'm with you on Okada being kind of lower down on the card. I blame that once again on Taka. If Taka's there, this is the main event. But they realize that these Zack Sabre Jr. matches don't actually count against his G1 record, and that's going to be revealed after this whole tournament is over.
Fair enough. I appreciate the conspiracy theory. It's good stuff. Next up, Evil defeated Kota Ibushi just over 19 minutes. I thought this was really great as well. Everything worked really well between them. Kind of different styles, with Evil being a little more power-based and Ibushi obviously being quick and athletic. Just really good stuff again, man. It's just... this was one of the better cards overall, I think. Just a lot of matches that were just delivering, and crowd was hot, and just big win for Evil over Ibushi, who found himself in a hole early on.
And the booking has really thrown me off because I tried my best to avoid kind of spoilers going into my binge watch of stuff. And I was very surprised to see Ibushi losing to Evil, because after Ibushi dropped his opening match to Kenta, like, it would seem like, all right, yeah, Evil is an easy rebound win because Ibushi's going to be near the top of this tournament. And no, he lost. So they've got a lot of interesting ways that this can play out in the next couple of weeks. Good match. Ibushi is going to have a good match with just about anybody, whether he's legitimately hurt with the ankle or any other injury. Like, Ibushi doesn't give a fuck. Like, he's still going to go out there and try to kill himself, whether he's injured or not. And Evil, like, I'm not a huge fan of his work overall, but I liked him in this match.
Fair enough. Main event was Kenta defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi in just over about 18 and a half minutes. I thought it was another great match on the card. Kenta feeling more comfortable as the tournament goes on, looking really strong, and Tanahashi finds himself taking another loss like Ibushi and Zack Sabre. So you had 3 surprising 0-2s early on there.
Yeah, the booking has been kind of... it's not questionable. It's just, it's interesting. It's fun to. This is why, like, something like the G1, especially as stacked as this field is this year, is fun to get into, because you see guys fall behind, and it's like, oh well, now he's got to beat this guy if he's going to be as high as we think he's going to be, but maybe he's not going to be that high, and they're going to elevate someone new. Like, it's cool to watch it all play out. And Kenta, they clearly have big things for it, because he hasn't lost yet, and he's looked good. This was a match where he's in there with the right guys. I'm not questioning Kenta. I never questioned Kenta's like in-ring ability. It was always just, can he hold up through the tournament? And that's still remains to be seen until he gets to the final night and is still looking good. But he turns in another good performance here, and Tanahashi is still Tanahashi. Like, we can doubt the man all we want. It come G1 time, the guy turns into super god worker as always.
He does, and it's honestly it's always amazing and always great to see. So yeah, so a very strong night for night 3, very enjoyable stuff. And so we will move on to night 4, which was back to B block action. Shingo picking up a win over Toru Yano, just over 6 minutes. A lot of Yano shenanigans as always. I thought this was a better wrestling match, solid overall, but again, a lot of fun.
Wrong man won.
How dare you?
I love Toru Yano. He's the best. Should have won this match.
But yeah, Shingo definitely needed a win, so that was good. Juice Robinson went 2-0, defeating Hiroki Goto next. 12 minutes, 25 seconds. Your thoughts?
And this is why I just have a tough time getting into Goto, because he picks up this big win against Jay White, and then he loses to Juice Robinson. And not that there's anything wrong with Juice Robinson, but Juice Robinson is kind of a mid-card guy, and if you're going to present Goto as better than that, then he should have started off 2-0, and that didn't happen. That match was good. Juice has been he's been strong through his 2 matches in this tournament. And again, this is no knock on Juice Robinson. It's just simply how they've been presented leading up to this, and why I have trouble getting into Goto. But I thought Juice came out of this match looking even better, and if they push him further up, I think he's elevated from the US title and can go into, he could be an Intercontinental title guy now, and hopefully that's what kind of comes for him out of this G1 run, or a never title reign, but I guess that's probably a step down from the US title.
In a way it is, but it's also defended more regularly, I think. So, I mean, he would be on more cards and have a chance to main event smaller shows. So, yeah, I mean, either way, I think, Juice definitely having a really good run so far, and hopefully it pays off for him. I thought the match was very good. I was a little surprised to see Goto lose after getting that big win over Jay White, 'cause it kind of felt like they were building up for an early run, like a redemption run for him. And then it was nope, you lost again. So, and I don't think that's necessarily bad, but it just kind of threw me off a bit. But
yeah, it's same complaint I have. That, come on now, either present Goto as a guy who's a top guy, or keep telling me he's a geek, and that's how I'll keep reacting to him.
Fair enough. Next up, Jon Moxley defeated the adorable Hawaiian Buddha Jeff Cobb just under 9 minutes via pin. Good match again. Moxley outbrawled the traditional wrestler, overcame the power, and picked up another win. He's having a good start to the tournament so far, 2-0 and 2 good matches.
I'd like to see them get longer. This match went 9 or 10 minutes, and these two have a better match in them. And this is also a night where I don't think the crowd was super hot, and so it was tough for, if the crowd's not into it, it's tough for fans watching at home to get into it as well. So I'd like to see them have a longer match in front of a better crowd.
I would too, definitely. But yeah, it was good stuff. And moving on, co-main event, Big Tom Ishii defeated Jay White in just over 19 minutes. Chaos goes 2-0 over Jay White, giving him revenge for last year. I thought they had a great match here. Jay White did a lot of really, really good things, and Ishii is just fucking Ishii, man. He's so great.
Yeah, Ishii's awesome. Jay White is much better than any casual will probably give him credit for, and he's putting guys over in this tournament. Not that, Ishii needs a huge put over, but after losing to Goto, this is where you think, oh, okay, Jay White's not going to start 0-2. They've got plans for this guy. He's a former champion. He will be okay. And no, here he is losing to Ishii. So yeah, Jay White's great. Ishii is really, really great, and they had a great match.
Yeah, and I really like the story of Chaos getting some revenge early on from last year over him. So and, I like that booking. And the main event was Tai Chi defeating Tetsuya Naito in 21 minutes via pin. Jeremy, apparently this match has been very polarizing. I've seen a lot of people say it was great, bordering on excellent, and one of Tai Chi's best matches ever.
What?
I thought it was perfectly solid but overbooked.
This match fucking sucked.
Oh, there you go.
As a main event of a G1 show, like, this match sucked. I think when we did our like bangers preview a while back, like I remembered the match they had for the Intercontinental title, and you know, they did that whole ordeal where Taichi killed Naito, and then it looked like the match was never going to happen, but then Naito, God, that whole thing was terrible. Like, I don't know what it is with these two. They just keep them away from each other because Taichi looks terrible every time. Naito just doesn't seem like he gives a fuck, and it's not good. I hated this match.
Yeah, Taichi busted out the Iizuka Iron Fingers and picked up the win. Yeah, I was not a fan of this. I know some people seem to really like it, and that's cool. If you really
liked this match?
I saw there was a bunch of people in my review telling me I completely underrated it, and they thought it was great. And
you are outing yourself as just the biggest New Japan stan in the world, because this match was not good.
Yeah, I thought it was solid at best. It like you said, especially for a main event, just under-delivered for me. So. But,
Taichi sucks.
There you go, Jeremy. Don't hold back. And due to an unexpected power outage, that will bring us to a close here on episode 38 of the 411 on Wrestling podcast. Jeremy and I will be back probably in a few days. We will keep catching up on the G1, but I want to thank you all for taking time to listen to the show. Remember, you can follow the 411 on Wrestling podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and of course the 411mania.com website. Please make sure to subscribe and share the show around, and if you have time, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. For Jeremy, I am Larry Csonka. Have a nice night and day, everybody, and happy wrestling.